Okay, if you're excited to get into Ashes of Creation, the MMORPG that's been in development for what feels like forever and promises to be the next big thing, then you're probably on the edge of your seat about the upcoming alpha test, or in this case, the alpha test that's been going for like 2 weekends now. I wrote this before, I'm doing it now, I'm late, shut up. But here's the truth, Ashes of Creation might not be the game you think it is, and once you start playing, you might realize that there's a lot more to it than the hype is letting on. Let's talk about the world. Vera. It's massive, it's dynamic, and Ashes of Creation is letting us get a taste of that in this alpha, or the alpha that's happening. The environment isn't just a backdrop. It changes based on player actions thanks to the node system. Think of it like your neighborhood suddenly sprouted a volcano because someone opened a coffee shop that took go big or go home a bit too seriously. In this alpha, we're finally seeing more of the node system in action. Players influence the world by building up these nodes into sprawling towns or cities, and the alpha let us experiment with how all of that worked. If you've ever dreamed of being a digital kingpin shaping a fantasy world, now's your chance. Just remember, with great power comes great responsibility, like not letting your city be flattened by an enemy guild with a vendetta. Because it can happen. Now, let's get into combat, because we all know that's one of the first things everyone's asking. Can I hit things, and is it fun? This alpha lets us test both action combat and tab targeting systems, so you can pick your poison based on your playstyle. The combat is supposedly designed to be responsive and fluid. Keyword here being supposedly. Watching some of the alpha footage, because I couldn't get in on the first day, it's pretty clear that they're ironing out the kinks still. So if you were expecting polished cinematic battles, maybe give that dream a few more years. On top of that, we're going to see a bunch of new classes and abilities that weren't in previous tests, and then, I forgot, Rogue and Summoner aren't even in the test until, like, months from now. The hybrid combat system is meant to blend action with traditional MMO elements, but don't be shocked if your precisely aimed fireball takes a sudden detour and roasts a squirrel nearby instead of the enemy. It's just an alpha, after all. And combat isn't just for PvE. Ashes is a PvX game, meaning PvP is woven into the world and impacts how players interact and how cities rise or fall. This alpha is supposed to include some large-scale PvP content, but it's probably going to show up later. Guild wars, caravan events, and node wars are among those events. Imagine hundreds of players all trying to wreck each other's carefully constructed cities. It's like someone turned a medieval simulation game into a demolition derby, which I think there's a game that does that. Is it Kingdom Come, I think? Then there's open world PvP through a flagging system. If you're like me and you prefer quietly gathering flowers and chopping wood, make sure to keep an eye on your surroundings or you might find yourself beaten like a loot piñata. The corruption system is there to keep players from going full murder hobo without consequence. Rack up too many kills and you'll gain corruption, turning you into a target for bounty hunters. Go on a rampage if you want, but expect the whole guild, or the whole server for that matter, to come knocking on your door for a little friendly chat. It's not really a chat, they're actually going to beat your face in and take your stuff. Now, for my fellow gatherers and crafters, this alpha isn't just about smashing things with swords. You'll finally be able to dive into the gathering and crafting systems, and believe me, I'm going to be spending most of my time figuring out the best ways to get ahead in the system. Resources here aren't just static. If you chop down a tree, it'll eventually grow back, but it takes time. And maybe not in the same way, form, or time you would expect. This adds an extra layer of tension, like when you start rationing the last bit of coffee in your kitchen, knowing that payday is a few days away. The alpha gives us our first look at how resource scarcity might actually play out in the full game. Spoiler alert, it's going to get competitive. If you're not fast, expect to be fighting over the last herb like a sale on Black Friday. Personally, I'm focused on gathering and economic strategies for long-term server control, their domination. I mean, I just want to make stuff. Let's just say I'm planning a quiet takeover with East India Trading Company vibes. I have big plans, but they're all secret for now. Maybe I'll make a video about it later. Stay tuned. Now, graphics and performance. Let's keep it realistic. This is an alpha, so don't be shocked if the servers occasionally melt down. The devs have already warned us that performance won't be polished, but we'll still get a glimpse of what the game's visuals will bring to the table. The environment looks stunning, with diverse landscapes and intricate details, but day one might be more about trying to log in than actually playing. It was. I spent most of the day trying to log in and played on the second day of the test. I wrote this a long time ago, shut up. Let's be real. As much as we'd love for Ashes of Creation to be the holy grail of MMOs, it's far from finished. This is an alpha, so expect bugs, yada yada. The kind that'll have you falling through the map or getting yeeted into the sky. In my case, it's hard to explain what happened to me, but I traveled half of the continent and it looked like, I can't even describe what it looked like. I glitched out and traveled halfway across the world. It was annoying. But anyway, don't get too attached to your character because a wipe is right around the corner. So embrace the chaos, laugh at the glitches, and remember why we're here, just to test. So after the first test, what's the verdict? This upcoming Ashes of Creation alpha is shaping up to give us a solid taste of the game's potential, but of course it's far from polished. We'll get to experience the node system, test combat, gather resources before the whole forest disappears, and we can dive into PvP mayhem if we have to. Just remember to keep your expectations in check. This isn't a release, of course, but I'm sure you've been told that many, many, many times. If you find yourself accidentally launching into the air on a glitchy mount, just enjoy the view. Let me know what you're most excited about in the comments below. Are you ready to dominate in PvP, or maybe you'll be trying to compete with me in the auction house? That's all for today. You're welcome.